Hey folks, this is Joe with Three Peaks Navigation, where we teach you the skills to navigate out of any situation. I'm going to talk to you today about LIDAR data. So those of you that are familiar with contours or terrain data in general, this will be a good one for you. Really, LIDAR data is really accurate terrain data that allows you to better plan your trips. This is a tool that I use a lot when I'm pre-planning in the office. Today I'm here in my office using CalTopo, which is a online web tool, a web mapping tool. There's a lot of different ones out there, whether you're on a desktop or your mobile device. This is probably my favorite desktop tool for trip planning. So you'll notice I've got a lot of layers over here on the right. And right now I'm using a scan topo layer. So for those of you that are older than mobile phone or always having a mobile phone with you, USGS topographic maps or topographic quadrangles, which we call topo maps, are maps that cover the entire United States. They were made at 1 to 24,000 scale. And prior to any sort of digital mapping tool, it was the way that you could get a map for anywhere in the US. You can still get topo maps in a lot of places. So, I think REI and other outdoor stores still sell them. If you live in the Northwest, Metzger Maps in Seattle still sells a lot of different paper maps. I much prefer a topo map over a green trails map, and that's mostly because of scale. If I zoom out a little bit, you'll see each of these different rectangles where the color changes is a different quadrangle or a different quad map. A green trails map is in essence a combination of 4 different quads together. So maybe this whole area here, but it's on about half the size of a sheet of paper of one quadrangle map. So green trails maps definitely work. They have in many cases more up-to-date data than you would find on a USGS quad map, but they're at a very different scale, which makes it a lot harder to see if you're doing any fine scale navigation. So let's zoom in here a little bit. I was actually on a hike the other day and noticed this specifically. So if I look at the quad map, you'll see these contours. As a general reminder, contours show change in elevation. So contours that are really close together, like up here, mean that it's really steep. Contours in an area like this that are farther apart means it's more flat. These are 40-foot contours, so there is 40 feet of elevation between each one of these contours. And we like to joke, you can fit a 39-foot cliff within a 40-foot contour interval. And what I'm going to show you today is actually a good example of that. So I don't use this scan topo layer very often because the data is dated. It's older and not as widely updated. I do like this map builder topo, which is a digital layer that's created from a variety of different sources, including topographic quad maps, as well as when it's available LIDAR data. So you'll see this map has what we call a hill shade. So the terrain is slightly shaded to make it pop out on the map. But I was still in an area here where if I look at the contours on the old map, and I'm going to turn on the map builder overlay to show you this trail that I was on. I was hiking along this trail and, I don't always consider it for real, but often when I'm on a trail like this, looking at the map, I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting. Maybe I could cut this, this dog, hairpin turn here and actually shave a little time off. Quite often those don't actually work out the way you plan them, but I always like to think about this sort of thing when I'm looking at the map. If I turn on the map builder, you'll notice that with a little bit of hill shade here, I can actually see that there is a little bit more terrain than I anticipated based on just the contour interval. And that was definitely obvious when I was standing there. This is actually a pretty decent ravine that goes down, and it's funny because this trail, it almost acts as a contour line along the edge of the ravine, and there's actually water moving through here. The easiest way to see this is actually in CalTopo and in a lot of different mapping programs, you'll see a shaded relief. So this is a terrain model that's created with LIDAR data. And we'll talk more about LIDAR, but in essence, it is a sensor that they mount to an airplane when they're flying aerial photos, and they bounce a laser off the ground, in maybe a couple dozen times per square foot. And the returns from that laser create, as you can see, really, really accurate terrain models, much more accurate than those hand-drawn contours back on the old USGS map. So you can see here this ravine that I saw when I was actually standing here on the edge of the trail is pretty obvious, but I like LIDAR a lot as a trip planning tool in areas where I have it available. And so LIDAR data is mostly going to be available in more urban areas. This is in the foothills of the Cascades. If you're over in a, maybe part of a national forest or somewhere in central Washington, out in the Rockies, in an area that isn't as inhabited, you might not find LIDAR data, but you can see a lot of really cool things. So if I turn the map builder layer off, you can actually see the road cuts for all of these old logging roads / trails. This is a paved county road. In some cases, you can even see the outlines of buildings. If we go down here closer to the river, it makes it really obvious to see the deeply incised terrain from creeks that flow into the river. You can see the actual river, in this case the Snoqualmie River, and also some older oxbows and different channels that have cut through the terrain over time. So especially for locating old historic logging roads that may or may not be good to travel on, or just getting a better idea of what the terrain actually looks like, a LIDAR, or in this case a shaded relief layer that's created from the LIDAR, is a really good resource. This is another area where if I was just looking on the map, these are pretty general contours, and it might look like an area that is pretty easy to go cross country, but this is obviously really hummocky, hilly terrain that probably is not worth trying to shortcut in any way, unless you really needed to. So I'm interested to know how you all use LIDAR. Does anybody use LIDAR or shaded relief? Are there other cool layers that you use in Gaia or CalTopo or other mapping apps that you want to either know more about or you want to share? Drop them in the comments. Let me know. I wanted to say, hey again to everybody that joined me. I think most of the people on the Instagram account right now are from the PN Wild podcast. I actually recorded that exactly a week ago today, and it posted a couple days later, and it's been great to see everybody trickle in as they listen to the podcast and then follow. So over the weekend, I'm going to do a couple of Instagram stories and surveys to get a little bit more input from all of you about what I want to talk, what you want me to talk about next. I think I'm going to try to do 2 posts a week. One will be kind of a basics post. I'm going to start next week with some compass, general compass as a navigating tool, compass as a protractor, as a mapping tool, and we'll go from there. But very interested to hear what other people want to talk about and what they want to learn more about. So thanks for watching. You guys have a good day.